Hello and welcome. You're watching the daily bulletin of IntoVietnam, presented to you by VITV channel. Let's take a look at top stories of the day. Vietnam and European Union issued a joint press statement. Vietnam faces risk on close to threshold public debt level. And Ho Chi Minh City's non-performing loans rise 16 trillion dong in the first 8 months of the year. On October the 13th, a joint statement was made by the Vietnamese Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng and the European Commission President José Manuel Barroso, following the meeting at the European Commission. They reaffirmed the importance of an early conclusion of the free trade agreement between European and Vietnam as a key instrument to further deepen the bilateral comprehensive partnership and strengthen the flourishing trade and investment relations on the basis of mutual benefits. The European Union and Vietnam intend this free trade agreement, which is expected to be reached in the next few months, to be a modern, comprehensive and balanced agreement that will support our economies in meeting today's and future challenges, and an essential building block in strengthening the relationship between Europe and Southeast Asia. The EC also committed a grant of 400 million euros for Vietnam in 2014-2020 period. The Asian Development Bank made grants worth a total of $13 billion for Vietnam to facilitate its economic development as of September the 30th. The information was announced by the State Bank of Vietnam following the working visit of delegation from the Board of Governors at the Asian Development Bank, led by its Executive Director to Vietnam from October the 10th to October the 13th. During the visit, the delegation had working sessions with the State Bank of Vietnam, the Ministry of Planning and Investment, and the Ministry of Finance, as well as visited some ADB-funded projects in the central province of Quảng Nam and Ho Chi Minh City. The annual activity aimed to exchange information on the socio-economic development of ADB developing member countries in the region, assess the efficiency of development projects and programs funded by the bank. ADB provided Vietnam with $12.5 billion between 1993 and 2013. The bank plans to offer $3.67 billion to the country during the 2015-2017 period. The Vice Chairwoman of the National Assembly, Ms. Nguyễn Thị Kim Ngân, said Vietnam's public debt over GDP ratio is getting close to the risky level, as it estimated at around 64%. Addressing at the working session held by the European Chamber of Commerce, better known as Eurocharm in Vietnam, on October the 13th in Hanoi, the Vice Chairwoman of the National Assembly, Ms. Nguyễn Thị Kim Ngân, said public debt is a matter of great concern for the National Assembly, which set up the ceiling rate for the debt of 65% of gross domestic product. She also revealed, according to the committee estimates, Vietnam's public debt over GDP ratio is now close to 64%. Also at the working session, the Vice Chairwoman affirmed Vietnam's pursuit of GDP growth of 5.8% this year, as economic growth was recorded at 5.54% between January and September. In the reviewed period, the Consumer Price Index grew by 2.24%, and will rise to 4.5 to 4.7% at the end of the year, which is much lower than the government expectation of 7% for 2014. Another bright spot in Vietnam's economy is recovers in its export sector, which will result in a trade surplus for the whole year. The State Bank of Vietnam's branch in Ho Chi Minh City said non-performing loans within credit institutions in the city hit more than 16 trillion dong between January and August. Bad debts of financial and finance leasing companies in the southern city hit the highest level as they accounted for as much as 21 to 37% of their total outstanding loans. NPL ratio in banks were almost below the 3% threshold, with an exception of Đông Á Bank 6.8% and Bản Việt Bank 3.61%. Sour loans were mainly recorded in manufacturing sector, accounted for 74%, and non-manufacturing sector 25%. The State Bank of Vietnam's Ho Chi Minh City's branch said non-performing loan resolution has always been prioritized, as within the first 8 months, banks have cleared out more than 15.6 trillion dong, bringing the total amount of resolved non-performing loans to 49.5 trillion dong. The State Bank attributed rising bad debts to the fact that from the beginning of June 2014, local lenders are required to classify and make provisions for risk as stipulated in Circular 02. The current dollar Vietnam dong exchange rate at commercial banks is slated at between 21,240 and 21,250 dong per US dollar, equal to the price at the end of September. However, it should be noted that the fluctuation margin during the period extended up to 80 dong per US dollar, the highest selling price in history. The price even climbed up to 21,320 dong per dollars. Let's find out the root cause for the forex rate fluctuations in the following business report.
Chúng tôi có cơ sở để khẳng định rằng nếu về mặt chủ động của nhà nước, có lẽ năm nay chúng ta cũng không cần phải dùng đến hết 2% và thị trường sẽ tiếp tục ổn định, và nếu có điều chỉnh thì chỉ ở mức từ 1 đến 1,43 và nằm hoàn toàn trong biên độ của ngân hàng nhà nước.
The statement made by State Bank Governor on the 29th of September during the Q&A session in front of the Standing Committee of the National Assembly was supposed to cause the exchange rate fluctuation in recent time. US dollar's price was unstable on the first few days of October, increasing 15 dong on the first, rocketing 35 dong on the second, and hitting a peak of 21,320 dong per dollar on the third of the month. The high price was maintained in the following week before it began to decline by 25 and 35 dong on the 8th and the 9th, respectively, after SBV voiced dampened expectation about the ability to raise the exchange rate at the end of the year and attributed the forex surge to the psychological factor.
Nguyên nhân chủ yếu là do yếu tố tâm lý trước tin đồn ngân hàng nhà nước điều chỉnh tăng tỷ giá. Thì theo đánh giá của chúng tôi thì mức tỷ giá liên ngân hàng thì vẫn thấp xa so với trần quy định của ngân hàng nhà nước. Và cung cầu ngoại tệ thì vẫn tốt.
Data from SBV show that forex supply and demand is stable. The balance of payment ran a surplus of 11 billion US dollar in September. Credit institution system continue to net buy. These are obvious evidence that the fluctuation wave derived from market expectations.
Tôi nghĩ rằng là cái đây cũng chủ yếu là yếu tố về tâm lý chứ không phải là quan hệ cung cầu. Tại vì cung cầu chúng ta thì nói chung là vẫn khá là tốt. Chúng ta vẫn xuất siêu. FDI thì đâu đó vẫn tăng được khoảng tầm 4-5% giải ngân.
Earlier this year, the exchange rate was affected by the EC tension when the SBV decided to raise the exchange rate by 1% in the middle of June. However, until the end of September, the rate rose only by 0.5% compared to the end of 2013, meaning that the market rate is still regulated by actual supply and demand for foreign exchange.
The Vietnam Automobile Manufacturer Association, better known as VAMAR, said in its monthly report that sales for the entire local automotive industry in September reached more than 16,100 units, up 29% compared to August and 65% compared to the same period last year. This is the 18th consecutive month that automobile sales in Vietnam have grown over a year. The production of locally assembled cars reached more than 11,300 units, up 16% from the previous month, while the number of imported vehicles or completely built units stood at more than 4,900 units, up 73%. With car sales continually increasing in the first 9 months of the year, Walmart has raised its sales forecast in 2014 to 145,000 units, up 15,000 units from the previous forecast at 130,000. This is the third time this year Walmart has raised its forecast, the most times in the last 3 years. With these latest figures, automobile sales in 2014 will increase 32% compared to 2013. As usual, the final part is summary of local gold prices, forex, and stock market. Well, that's all for this edition of IntoVietnam. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon and goodbye for now.